Two mothers, lots of themes, and plenty of drama. Did the director Pedro Almodóvar burst something amazing or something a little jumbled? We'll find out right now. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch or Pass, and I'm here to talk to you about Parallel Mothers, which is a new movie directed by Pedro Almodóvar, and it stars Penelope Cruz. It's coming to the DC area on January 7th, 2022. It's a drama with some interesting themes, and it confronts some aspects of Spanish society that I think probably aren't really highlighted very much. So my hot take is I actually didn't really like this film. I wanted to like it. There were a lot of things to like about this movie, but I just think maybe it wasn't for me. I thought the overall story didn't really come together in the end and had a lot of themes that felt kind of tacked on or jumbled together. And overall, I just thought this movie was kind of long and didn't really hit the highs I think it wanted to. But this might just be me. Maybe you'll love it. I didn't really love it. I think maybe it's a pass or a rental if this sounds like a movie that you'd be interested in. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the movie, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then talk about the ending because that actually has some of the things I didn't love. So if you don't want to know anything about the movie, and there are some very big dramatic reveals that happen in the film, so you might not want to know about this movie, then turn this off and go see the film. It's coming to theaters on January 7th, 2022, so you can check it out there. Otherwise, let's keep going. So in Two Mothers, you have Janis, played by Penelope Cruz, and Anna, played by Milena Smit. They are two expectant mothers that kind of meet in the delivery room, and then their lives start crossing in interesting ways. Their babies are born about the same time. They kind of go through similar uncertainties as they're raising their children. And then you get to kind of see how both their relationship and their kind of personalities progress as they're raising these children and trying to make it on pretty much their own. Both of them have family around them, but it doesn't seem like they can really ask them for much. So they are both trying to raise these children on their own. And then a lot of other themes and drama happen. But the underlying story is you've got these two mothers who are both trying to raise their kids and trying to kind of make the best decisions for them. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of other themes. There's a theme, and I'm going to get into that later on. But it's not just the story of these two mothers. There's also this theme of war atrocities that is brought up. There's a theme of confronting your past. There's a lot of other ideas that are brought in here, but the core story is these two mothers and kind of their relationship and the way that their lives cross as they're raising their children. So things I liked about this movie. The first is the style. I really love the style. It was kind of bright, colorful, and the film has some pretty heavy themes. And it was kind of interesting to have just a generally bright and well lit and colorful movie. Now, this might just be because it's set in Madrid. Like, I think Madrid is a little bit more colorful than I think a lot of the cities in America are. But it just felt like a generally happy kind of setup for a fairly dramatic story. The second thing I really liked are the dramatic twists. There are some very big dramatic twists that happen towards the middle and the end of the story that kind of throw a wrench in everything you thought you knew. It also kind of makes sense of some of the earlier uncertainties and conflicts. I really like these twists, and I thought that they were well done. They kind of threw a big old wrench in the story, things that I wasn't really thinking about, and then when it happened, I was like, oh wow, that's a big change. There are things that I wasn't really thinking about, but when they happened, they kind of dropped big bombshells in there. The third thing I really love is the growth of some of the characters. Both Anna and her mother kind of start off. Anna is not a very confident person. She's unsure of herself, and her mother is also that in a different way. She is unsure in her career. She's trying to pursue something that she loves. And throughout the story, but both of these characters change dramatically throughout the film. Their entire personalities, their like personas, the way that they look just change completely from the start of the film to the end of the film. And I liked that growth. I liked seeing these characters progress. Giannis also progresses, but I think she was already a little more independent from the start of the movie, so she doesn't progress as much, but she changes as well. I mean, as you'd expect, motherhood changes her. But the growth of Anna and her mother, I thought was really dramatic and something that was really fun to see. And the last thing I really liked are the themes. I mean, the film tries to confront a lot of different themes, and they kind of pop up throughout. So you have this age versus youth theme and conflict that happen. You have a past versus present, like whether you try to fix the past or whether you just kind of move on and live in the present. And then there's also a theme of kind of a traditional family versus kind of a more blended modern family, I guess, for lack of a better word, and kind of who you can rely on and how you can kind of get the support that you need from those. There are probably many other themes that I didn't really pick up on, but there's a lot in this movie and a lot of very interesting contrasting ideas. But like I said, I didn't really love this movie, and some of that was the story themes. I mean, there's a lot of those themes that felt a little mashed together in this film, and almost feels like there was too much thrown in there. Now the movie was already pretty long; it was about 2 hours, so I don't know how much more they could have added or fleshed out. But it did feel like it almost wanted to touch on too much, and it didn't really flesh out anything. It felt like some of these later aspects were kind of just thrown in. I don't know, maybe there were ideas that were important but had to get cut, or maybe they just uh, couldn't, maybe they had to make way for the main story, especially the next theme that I'm going to speak about. It really did feel a little tacked on. It was kind of the central part of the start of the story, and it kind of ended the story. But in the middle, not much was made of this kind of pivotal scene in the film. And so that leads me to the second thing I did not love, which was the historical aspect. There is this historical aspect about the film. Janis meets her child's father through this pursuit of I guess, a mass grave that I think happened during World War One. I'm not certain on the time. I think it was like 1914, so it must have been like World War One. But a lot of, I guess, an entire village essentially was massacred and buried in this mass grave. And Janis has some information that was passed down through her family, and she's trying to get that excavated because her grandmother is in there, and she wants to kind of honor her and honor her past. And she meets her child's father through that pursuit. I think he's an anthropologist, or he's involved in this type of work, and so he is the one that's going to try to get through the red tape, get the city to agree, and actually do this excavation. And then they end up having feelings and start a relationship and have a child. But then that whole theme just kind of gets put on the back burner for most of the movie. It kind of pops right back up at the end and then leads to this very dramatic, it should be powerful, but I didn't love the way it was done, end scene that talks about kind of the sins of the past. But it felt like for most of the movie that whole idea was absent. It just kind of like went away for, I don't know, 70% of the movie and then popped right back at the end. So it was really weird to have that be kind of the pivotal capping scene. And also the way it was kind of approached, and I'm going to talk about this next, that tone felt a lot different from the buildup that was happening. To elaborate more, at the end, spoilers, big spoilers, they excavate this grave, and so Janis and Anna have reconciled at this point, and it seems like a generally happy ending. It seems like everyone is coming together for the good of, at this point there's only one child. The other child died right after childbirth, and that was kind of a big revelation that occurred, that was dropped in there. But at this point it seems like everyone is blended together and trying to think what's best for this remaining child. And it's almost like a happy scene because they get to this burial site. It's kind of a beautiful day. There's like a tree in the background. Everyone's kind of sitting there smiling, seeing the, I guess, the work that they had done. And then you see a shot of the grave and the skeletons that are in there. And then there's another shot of like everyone who was involved in the excavation laying down in the same position that the skeletons were in like a very kind of depressing scene. And then it fades to a quote about the sins of the past, and that's the end of the movie. Like, that's it. I thought it was going to end on a much more positive note. It seemed like it was kind of barreling towards this kind of generally happy ending, and then it just like jumps off the cliff into this, very serious, dramatic confrontation of our past type message. And that had come up before, but it wasn't as prevalent as it ended up being at the very end. So I was kind of taken aback by that ending and kind of the abruptness of it. And so that leads me to the third thing, is kind of the generally strange tone. This film is a drama, and it has a lot of very dramatic moments. I mean, some very poignant, important things happen, but the film overall doesn't feel like a heavy drama. It feels very lighthearted. That might be partly the generally bright style, which I did like. It might be just kind of some of the way the writing was and some of the characters. There were some funny but caring characters, but I don't know. It felt like the tone was kind of all over the place. Like, you had this very dramatic confrontation between Anna and Janis that ends with Anna leaving and kind of breaking up with Janis and taking the child. And that was kind of like a big, powerful moment that then just seemed to kind of resolve itself. It then kind of went, the film didn't really confront that as far as I could tell. It went into the excavation of the grave and kind of the historical aspect there. And then the next scene you see, I mean, they visit each other, and Anna and Janis makes up with Anna, and they kind of reconcile, and then they go to visit the grave. And it was a very strange tone, because I thought it would be a much more dramatic shift after that happened. And there's a few scenes like that where there are very big dramatic shifts. I don't know, they don't seem to have the gravity that I was expecting from the type of information that you get. And I don't know, maybe I just wasn't in the right space when I was watching this. Maybe I just didn't believe the drama. I don't know. But for some reason, the tone felt inconsistent. And then, like I mentioned, that historical aspect feels very different from the buildup that you were getting to. You have this generally kind of positive climb for the characters. And then it ends on a very somber, serious note. And I don't know, maybe that was the point. Maybe the idea was to leave you with this important message, but it did feel like it kind of came out of nowhere and it almost felt tacked on. So overall, I didn't love this movie. It also was a little bit long, and it was a 2-hour movie, and it didn't really feel like the plot was progressing as fast as I thought it could have. It felt a little, I don't know, ambling might be the right word. But overall, I didn't really love this movie. But look, it might not have been for me. It's very possible that this movie was not for me. So if you want to check it out, it's available in the DC area on January 7th, 2022. It's Parallel Mothers. It has some really great aspects. There's some really interesting themes and some, good acting, and Penelope Cruz does a great job in it. But it just wasn't for me. But check it out for yourself and let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm completely off base. I might be. You never know. And thanks so much for watching. If you liked this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.